Hello from Safonovo. This is a podcast Pigeon of Peace where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about Microsoft Access and let's start with the definition.
There are a lot of programs which contain Microsoft Office, and one of them it would be Microsoft Access, and it is a kind of database for small and medium enterprises. Yes, there are a lot of different, much better constructed databases like SQL, Microsoft SQL or Light SQL. It could be also Oracle databases and so on. But the main reason to use Microsoft Access it is easiness to understand the interface, which is quite familiar to Excel and to the Word. When you work with Excel, you will create tables, maybe one, maybe several, then you will create connections, then you will make calculation and so-called calculation of chains, a chain of calculations, and it would also calculation model. But anyway, after some amount of rows and columns, Excel start to work very slowly. For example, our references to podcast now exceeded previously
Exceeded.
exceeded 10,000 lines, and now to put just filters it is takes a long time, and it is a right time to switch to Microsoft Access. If you will go there, it would work with several millions of lines and it would be quite fast, but there is quite a difference. Excel is a table and you could see any part of it. Access, it is something hidden, like in the jar, and you would use some commands like select or update or delete to extract something, to change something, or to erase something.
And if we slightly look into the structure of the table of the tool itself and of the database itself, like how exactly it's been architectured and why it still might be efficient than the flat table.
Flat table contains all the data within, so it is very rarely when you create in Excel so-called relative databases. Relative database would contain dictionaries or thesaurus, which contain just single used or unique records, and each head has ID. For example, let's imagine that we both have the same name, Maxim. You, Maxim Golub, I, Maxim Брагинский. Then our name, Maxim, would have the same ID in special table. And in Access, it would be like a notebook with different meanings, and name table or surname table or our family name table, it would have a special row, so-called zero row, with IDs. And if you want to show to someone that you are pointing to the line with Maxim Golub, you should say ID, name, surname, which is name ID is equal to Maxim, surname ID is equal to Golub. So in Excel, you will never do such a severe construction. You will do everything by your mouse and by your fingers.
And when we actually, like trying to extract the data and interact with all of the tables, there is also should be something that actually could help the user to maybe, like navigate easier. Is there any UI or like user interface or anything that could be, I would say, put together in order to, like let the user choose the data from the multiple connected sources, get the reports, get the outcome, and maybe, like process it and serve to them whether it exists in Access or like you need to use third-party tools.
No, there is not a need to use third-party tools, but it could be. For example, I will tell you several steps, several way how to do it. First, when your database is quite huge, you could move it from Excel to Access, and then Access to Access with ODBC driver from Excel. I like it a lot. So you will see just your tables partially, and you will get flat tables each time after the request. Second, you could go and you could create user-friendly forms in Access, and then you will be switching between so-called cards. For example, you have an object like vehicle or maybe person or maybe home or maybe some record or scientific paper, and you could create a so-called card, and you could go go exactly to the card by the number or by a condition in the search. So it is not easy. It is not hard, but there is a quite difference. In Excel, you could access at any time with very slight string with search everything what you want in advance. But in Excel, you should create some special form, and you will make search just in one column at the time.
Well, and since you mentioned ODBC, I do believe it's not might be used for like a single user, but let's say we're in a network, for example, we have some sort of like accounting or like any other finance software. So could it be also used as the network database?
Hmm. Yes, I have heard that some people works not just in Google Sheets but also in Access with network access. But I have been using such database just once. It was 2005, and it was time when we were given credits with a high speed, and then we need to collect them. So we created database with one girl. He was wife of my programmer, and she was pregnant, and I asked if she will succeed to create this database in 5 months. Yes, and she managed not just to learn the access, but also to create a database. And I was very afraid then when he will give a birth, we will make a calls and ask for something. But no, after 1 or 2 years, there would be no calls because this girl was very prominent in the logic. And then she created database, and it was accessed by I don't know exactly 120 180 people in different days. Yes, but it is not high loaded database. It would be like I don't know like 100 search per person per day. So it is not a hard database, but it was quite useful, and it was built instead of buying something which would cost like I don't know 2 million US pounds.
Well, yeah, sometimes being cost efficient is more, like efficient than just, like getting everything out of the box. And since you mentioned that there might be some sort of, like errors or mistakes or crashes, whether there are any mechanisms built in into the access that would allow, let's say, like, if something ruins, for example, let's say there is like index table, and for some reason there is like I would say irrelevant character that would not allow you to open it. Is there anything that would prevent such cases, and maybe there is like another version or a backup? So what should be the approach and the tool and the strategy to make sure that the device is intact?
It's quite funny coincidence because last night our site, School of Troubleshooters, it was broken because it was an error in database, and it was unable to proceed access to articles and yours in particular for I don't know like 20 hours. No, Access has no such a instrument because it is a file-based database. So you should make backup by yourself. And right now we write this video in the middle of the August of 25. Right now, Access is quite reliable, but maybe 10 years ago, all files like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and Access, they could be corrupted during saving or even opening. And who was working at the time always do as many backups as you can. There is even saying in Russian language, press Control S as often you could, because in this case you will have multiple copies. Yes, maybe they would be not complete one, but anyway you will have access to 99% of the database which was formed before this pricing of this combination.
And sometimes, especially nowadays, we might be having users using different platforms. So it could be Windows, Linux, or like a Mac, or even sometimes people actually, tend to do everything on their mobile phone, whether it's, like a ridiculous or not. But whether there's a need and capacity or capability of the Microsoft Access to be accessible on the different platforms.
With your help, I get an access to Microsoft Office 365, and I have read that it is a way to use database in the net from computer, from phone, from iPad, but I never use it like this. Yes, when I was working in Alpha Bank, we were creating some databases, especially in Access, and they were accessed by iPads because some bosses, they do not want to sit close to computers. They spend too many time in the car, so they like to work with iPad. Yes, it worked well, and it is not about how Access work. This is how other programs work with Access.
And then my last question will be how knowing about Microsoft Access could help to make this world a better place.
As I told before, if you work with Excel, you have a limit approximately 10,000 lines. After this period, you will be unable to work as fast as you would work before. So if you will add 2 or 3 lines to huge database, suddenly you find that they will work so hardly, so lazy that you will beg for mercy of the computer god. But if you work with Access, you will have another limitation. It is limitation for the file, and a single file of database in Access couldn't exceed 4 gigabytes, but it is much bigger than 10,000 lines. Yes, okay, some people will say in comments that Excel could proceed even 1 million lines. Yes, not just 1 million, even 200 millions, but the speed would be so poor that no one's want to do it in real.
And we review the skill of Microsoft Access and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.